Welcome to the Wellbeing Designers podcast. My name is Réka Deák. I am your host. This podcast is about well-being at work and in life. We discover how we can design the future of well-being together so we can create human-centric organizations and a sustainable work life. In the first season of the podcast, I talked with the first generation of well-being leaders in big organizations. Usually, they were the very first ones in their organization ever to have the title of Head of Wellbeing or similar. In the second season, starting with episode 9, you will meet similar people again, and I invited some other interesting profiles as well. All these people work on well-being on a systemic level. Their mission is related to make the world a better place through focusing on well-being. In the past years, especially since COVID, employee well-being got on the top of the agenda, not only for companies worldwide, but even some countries and other official institutions started to call for action. In the Wellbeing Designers podcast conversations, I would like to highlight the work of those sometimes invisible people, leaders, who are either in charge of well-being in organizations and trying to navigate amongst the growing amount of well-being offerings, while connecting efforts to business impact and, most importantly, create real value for employees. Or they are those leaders who are doing their best to create international forums to exchange, raise awareness, and take action on well-being and people sustainability. They might be the ones whose responsibility is to take care of hundreds, thousands, or 10,000s of people's well-being. They might be the ones who keep decision makers and CEOs engaged about the topic of well-being. They might be the ones who are proving that employee well-being is a strategic enabler of sustainable performance and business success. They might be the connectors between well-being leaders across companies and countries. I call these people well-being designers. Enjoy listening to them and learning from them. Together, we can design a human-centric work life and the future of well-being. This is a special bonus episode with a surprise interview. Enjoy!
Hello everybody, this is a different voice today. My name is Isabel Steinhoff and it's my pleasure and honor to interview the host of the Wellbeing Designers podcast, Réka Deák. Welcome, Réka!
Hi, Isabel. Well, it's a pleasure to be here on this podcast now in a different position.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for your proposal to do this. I knew that if I do once something like this, then you will be the one interviewing me. So since we got to know each other, which was exactly in 2019 when I first started on this journey, setting up the early version of Wellbeing Designers.
Yeah, it was really exciting when we met. I had also just quit my consulting gig, and I think we were quite in a similar headspace, although I would say you were already more advanced and had sort of already started on this well-being journey. Maybe you want to take us back there and let us know what was going on back then.
Absolutely. 7 years ago, I was on a quite challenging project working in consulting, and it was a dream project in a way. I got the responsibility to lead a change management piece, and I was taking care of my own well-being, but still something didn't click there, and it was not only me. I saw people burning out around me or behaving in not a nice way. They were not at their best, and I experienced the same in me. Luckily, I didn't go until burnout, but I was clearly not at my best. I had some symptoms, and I was not reacting in an assertive way on challenges and difficult conversations like as I wanted. And this really made me question also the way how I approach my own well-being. So if I should do something differently, what it is. And also how I could bring others along, how I could support my consulting team, my colleagues, the clients, when they interact to create a better culture and the base to work together. This was really a defining moment. Of course, back then I didn't call it well-being, but it kicked off my journey. And now I know that what was in my mind is really to create a well-being culture. And then I learned different techniques, both from West and East. So my coaching studies were based on neuroscience and also the Eastern influence through yoga, meditation, and then again Western mindfulness. So these all came together in my work.
So this has been a long time in the making, but we heard you speak about the personal side of it. But when you think about it from a strategic and organizational perspective, what are the different nuances compared to, I think we sort of have an image of what personal well-being can be, but if you take it to the organizational stage, how does that play out then?
We always go back, of course, on the individual level. So even if we approach it from the organization, what we talk about is the people, right? So that they all feel well. So if we talk about strategic well-being individually, then it's about your intention, that you don't just react on your life and just like find something, cure your symptoms, but you intentionally set up your life in a way that maintains your well-being physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, financially. The same is true for organizations. If they want to have a workforce which is productive, people bring their best selves to work, they are happy, healthy, then you have to create a culture and an environment that helps people create this awareness of taking care of their own well-being. And then help and support teams to understand each other, and that's how they can also work and collaborate better together.
There needs to be a balance, right? Again, we were speaking about the individual level, but then also as an organization, you have goals, you want to have a high performance culture. How do you then balance sort of people's individual needs and where they are in their maturity in this subject, and also for the organization, and maybe what's the role of a well-being designer in all of that?
That's something that companies are nowadays just figuring out, and they now really see that this leads to success and there is benefit. Like studies show that companies who invest into well-being, they perform better and they outperform their competitors. So luckily we are at this point where we have data behind this. A few years ago this was still not there. So of course, element of well-being like psychological safety, it's a very important element. There is research for a long time out there, but this holistic well-being approach, which is based on physical, emotional, mental, social, financial, even like there are many layers, parental well-being, this is something that really came up strongly in the past years. So organizations can support this in various ways. Definitely we need role modeling by the leaders. I believe also in bottom-up movements, and they are very important. But without commitment of the leadership, really an organization-wide change won't happen. So that's why we need to approach it from everywhere in the organization.
How can organizations deal with it? You said there's a lot of layers to it, so it needs a holistic approach. How do companies find sort of their well-being strategy, let's say? You said it's also a change project. So how would they approach the subject? And maybe you can build on also what you've learned from your guests in season 1, who were all well-being designers and were in charge of this area in their respective organizations.
There are frameworks out there, and usually companies pick a framework that worked maybe for another company. What is also important, that it was emphasized by my guest, that you need to listen to your people, and if you really listen to them, then you really listen to your own organization. It's good to have the frameworks and best practices. You have to then adapt it for your organization, for your problems. We have no organizations that look the same in terms of individuals, cultures, the size, the industry, how much percentage is white collar or blue collar workers. These influence what well-being manager, well-being leader then has to deal with.
What are typical challenges that these organizations face when they start to engage with the topic, and how would you recommend sort of they try to overcome them? What's your perspective on that?
There are companies who have been always trying to deal with this topic, and they are famous to be good employers. So maybe for them this journey came much more natural. There are other companies who were more focused on just productivity and paying people. So there it's a bit more complicated. They now really react on the demand, especially by the new generation who are very conscious that they want to work for an employer who takes care of their well-being and offers the opportunity for them to bring their best selves or their whole selves to work. Historically, the big companies have done this a lot, but they changed from wellness to more well-being, to have the holistic approach. And then smaller companies or the ones who didn't put this in the center of their strategy, they are now picking up on this topic. In my conversation with well-being leaders or people who now picked up this topic within organizations, sometimes we get back to the point that we shouldn't start with a bigger holistic well-being program or well-being journey, education, how I like to call it, for employees. But first, we should approach the leadership team, because they might still not understand it fully, what are the benefits and why they have to invest into it. If we talk about the leaders, it's interesting because in leadership development programs, this element of self-awareness and personal development, it has been always there. Many companies actually then realize through their leadership development program that, why not to give this to all employees? And that's exactly, I think, the beauty of employee well-being nowadays, that you can now, through this movement, offer this personal development, creating the self-awareness for everyone, every employee in the company.
I love how you're so passionate about this topic, and it segues me nicely into, I want to shed some more light on the mission of Wellbeing Designers. I think you sort of already hinted a little bit at it, but just give us a glimpse on what you're doing, what you're planning to do, and how people can get on board with this journey of yours as well.
Happy to do that. First, before my mission, I would talk about my vision, because that really explains then a bit the mission. So my vision is that one day we run out of work.
That sounds good.
Because then well-being as a group of skills or life skill, it would then be taught to kids, to teenagers in schools, at universities latest. And they would already arrive at their first workplace possessing this knowledge, how they take care of their physical well-being in terms of exercise, sleep, nutrition, how they recharge, how they take care of their mental well-being, emotional well-being. But this is still not there. There are countries who are advancing on this. They have already, for instance, mindfulness classes in high schools, but this is not the average. We have still many people who were not taught how to deal with their well-being in schools. So they are now in the workforce, and they face some challenges. So then our mission comes here to really provide an education for people, how to pick up well-being skills, and then how to design together healthy organizations, well-being culture in organizations. So we have a human-centric work life, and this is good not only for the company but for the overall community and society.
So we start in the workplace, which is nice, and I love your vision that this will be actually natural, and maybe AI will do all the work for us, and we can just be happy and well. But let's dive a bit deeper into how you are working with companies and how you are educating leaders, but also then the well-being designers, right? The next generation of people who will take care of this in the workplaces. Let's go a bit deeper.
First of all, building awareness, that's one of the work that we face out there, and that there is a demand for it. That we can do through giving inspirational keynotes for leaders or for employees, or inspirational workshops where they really got to know the numbers and the benefits behind the well-being culture, and experience it also on themselves through some techniques. When we have this awareness, and the awareness is there, and the intention to do something more about it, then we can go a bit deeper and further to work together with teams. For instance, one of the popular workshops that we do is a Wellbeing Culture Sprint, where you can design your own well-being in a team context and the team's well-being, and then eventually this could help to create an organization-wide well-being framework and strategy. And of course, this is still quite short, so we know that change is difficult, and this requires usually some change in behaviors of the individual and the organizational behavior. So we then work also longer together with companies on well-being culture journeys. And this is where the more intentional well-being education approach comes in, when a selected group of people in the organization learn about the holistic well-being approach, and they can be then the ones who then bring this into the organization, whether they are well-being champions or line managers. So they learn all about physical, mental, emotional, social, parental well-being, and in a work and team context. So that's very important for us that we really put this into a work context, because sometimes that is missing in this equation, so we go beyond the individual.
I like how you're engaging all the layers, right? You have something for the leaders who do have to speak about numbers in the end. It's what they are focused on, and to show really how this is a strategic topic for sustainable performance. And then also the team leads. Could you dive a bit deeper into this sprint? I think that's something that's very intriguing for people. A, because it sounds fast, and B, because it sounds hands-on. And I think humans learn through experience, right? If you have this, as you call it yourself, this aha moment, right, where you realize something, you have an epiphany, I think that's sort of the trigger usually for change, right? Because we don't like to just change because somebody says it, but because we are convinced that there is a better way. So maybe you can give us a bit more insight into what such a culture, well-being culture sprint is like.
Usually it tackles a business problem as well, so it's easier for people to embark on this journey. We identify some challenges together, and then we really work on a solution through the well-being lenses, how individuals can then become more sustainable performers by creating more self-awareness, getting to know what is best for them as individuals, and then respecting each other's needs, because we have different needs, and maybe this can be conflicting needs, or we have a different conflicting way to be well. But that's then really important to bring this respect and create a psychologically safe space. We then know what is good for our whole team to work together and be a sustainable performer.
And how long does it take you to such a sprint?
So it's like from 3 to 5 days. It's really between a longer journey and just a one-time inspirational workshop.
So you can sort of dip your toe into the water, and then you can, want to go and swim deeper.
Yeah. And one other thing that really came out also through these conversations in the podcast is growing demand by well-being managers, well-being leaders who come to us. We will launch a course for them.
So, but they can be become a train the trainer sort of ambassador, as you said it, for this topic. But of course, they need the methodology for that. And the community aspect, that's, I think, very interesting. How has maybe also your podcast connected people? I think you told me some funny stories before we started recording. I don't know which of those you want to share, but sort of this has already had some impact and you have already brought people together. So how does that play into now your whole mission and vision?
You and I were together on a journey once to build a community around future of work. We both know that it's a hard work. When I started this podcast, I didn't have such a plan in my mind that, okay, through that I will build and formalize such a community. It's still there a bit pending in the air, but yeah, the demand is there. I am very grateful for those people who turn to me from the other side of the world. I am based in Switzerland, but I got messages from the US, Canada, like Asia, maybe less, but even from there, yeah, once someone contacted me, and Australia. And of course, within Europe, that they really liked the podcast. It was something missing for them, this approach to really focus on organizational well-being. Mm-hmm. And then they wanted to talk, engage. So I am now still in this process to figure this out, how to give the best for them. You know, maybe it's okay like this. We have the podcast and we connect sometimes, but there is definitely potential for something more.
And now you've been on a journey for quite some time, and I love how you said also it had to be sort of, it was always brewing a little bit in the background also during Corona, and finally it has sort of materialized and you're gaining traction with it, and also the world is ready for it. I think Corona played a big role in that as well. So with your own experience, with what you've learned from your guests and your partners, what would be your advice for the future generation of well-being designers? I think that's something you ask your guests as well, so you're not getting around this one.
Yeah. I have 3 words, and then I can explain them. Lead, co-create, enjoy. So what is behind these words? The first one is lead. It's both, lead by example. So you as a well-being leader in the organization, then you are also a role model of this behavior and way of being, way of working. Plus lead in a way that I think if we want to be efficient and really make a difference and create a well-being culture, then this person needs to step up. Ideally, the position is created with a certain seniority, but if not, then there are different ways to show leadership and go out there, engage your stakeholders. The second one, the collaborate and co-create, is really about working through silos and through the hierarchy. So well-being shouldn't be, just at the well-being HR department. It should be really across the whole organization, integrated into all business areas, and also on all hierarchies. So it's not only for leaders, not only for employees. It's really a mindset that we have to transmit on all levels and layers. And the third one is enjoy the journey. It can be a job, and every job can be demanding. Either you are within an organization working on this, and then you face all the challenges that corporate life offers, or you might be on the outside as a provider, breaking through the noise. I think we live in an exceptional time, and the potential of well-being is really huge. And we need to enjoy this journey and not only see the negatives and the difficulties, but also stop for a moment and recognize that, wow, where we came from, we really now made a big step in our small world as well-being managers in our organization to start to talk about this topic. And in the whole world, there is a movement going on. And this is big. This is a big step.
That's a beautiful point, I think, to end on. Thank you, Reka, for being in the hot seat today and for taking the initiative with this podcast, for pushing this topic forward. And I wish you all the best for Wellbeing Designers, and I can't wait for season 2 of this podcast.
I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of the Wellbeing Designers podcast. If you would like to keep in touch with me, with us, sign up to the Wellbeing Designers newsletter. You can do this on our website, www.wellbeing.design. You can reach out to me via the website or via LinkedIn. I am happy to connect with other well-being designers from all over the world. Remember, together we can design a human-centric work life and the future of well-being.